Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals, to another episode of Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap. I am none other than Benjamin Dixon, joined by my brothers from other mothers, and I can already tell you we are about to be canceled. Cause man, we got a fourth black man on the screen. Marcus Farrell, always Mondale Robinson, and none other than the infamous, notorious Jason Johnson. What's happening, everybody?
I'm glad to be here with you problematic black men. You know, I'm here to cause trouble.
You're here to cause trouble. See if you can lean in a little bit to your mic or turn your mic volume up, because we want to hear you as good as we hear everybody else.
Let's see here.
Marcus, what's going on, man? Mondale, what's happening, fellas? My bad for this morning, everybody. That was on me.
That's all right, man. First off, we all neoliberal today, so 50% of Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap was on MSNBC today, and we were just doing all kinds of neoliberaling. But let me tell you something. I like black people.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of black people first.
Yep.
And as long as we ain't hurting nobody or harming nobody, I think it's all right. So, welcome to Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap.
Well,
don't you realize you're hurting people by just being unapologetically black? Don't you realize that, Marcus? Don't you realize that that's part of the problem? That inability to break yourself away from identity politics is why you get in so much trouble.
Mondale Robinson, you get the word in here, man. What's going on with you, Mondale?
Man, I'm sitting back right now already knowing that this show is gonna do it for somebody's nerve. Somebody tonight is gonna jump off the busiest bridge in Atlanta.
Well, I want to start here. Let's start with the obvious elephant in the room. Now, Jason, you've been on the show before, man, and actually, quite frankly, you part of the original crew of the show.
So
right.
This is Wu-Tang right here.
This Wu-Tang. Transformers.
What's the guy who left Genesis? Whatever the dude who left Genesis, Peter Gabriel.
Okay.
Peter Gabriel. That's a very old reference for those millennials out there.
Let's break it down for the because I don't know that reference. What about what's the name of the guy who left the 5 Heartbeats? Eddie Kane. Right. Who? One of them left it. You haven't seen 5 Heartbeats.
I have not seen the 5 Heartbeats.
Damn it, Jason! Already you want to start? Really? We want to start this early?
I have not seen the 5 Heartbeats yet. I have not seen that movie.
Now, normally we do that as we snatch people black cards or stuff over that, but I guess there is a category of stuff black folks have not consumed that could get us
Jason,
canceled.
Ben, that motherfucker is not getting a pass. Damn it, Jason.
And we're gonna be joined momentarily by.
Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. I know the phrases.
Oh, wow.
I'm familiar with the phrases.
Yeah, that's important. That's important.
I know just enough to make it seem like I've seen the movie when we used to have family picnics and gatherings and things before COVID. I knew how to pretend.
Okay, well, that's important because you can't be at a barbershop and not know the inside jokes at the barbershop. That's just that's a fact.
I mean, he know. I bet you he know.
Jason?
I bet you know the shoe style of Spider-Man.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know the
black.
Yeah, I know that. Come on now.
See, we got blurs in the building, man. Sometimes people focus on different things.
No, you got the full range of black. Cause listen, there's a guy who says something that I don't know if I'm gonna keep giving him credit for it. Cause he's Boyce Watkins, and I don't know how much I can give him credit for anything. But this man said I can give him credit for putting me on first. Like, let me just be straight up. Reason I don't come for Boyce Watkins because he was the very first person that said hello to me. But he said something I never forget. He said, "There's no one way to be black." That's the realest thing I ever heard. There's no one way to be black. So, if you're blurred, however you show up, black is black. That's all I got to say. Except for, maybe like,
unless you're
not Candace Owens is black too. She's just a different type of reaction to white supremacy. That's all.
There we go. That is a fair and equanimous way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And I also need white people to understand that this is a nuanced conversation that they have no space in. When we start talking about taking black cards and joking about that shit, don't ever feel comfortable enough about revoking black cards.
Ever.
Yeah, there's no white black card referees whatsoever.
Watch about.
You can't have that.
Put your hand on the hood and watch your toe.
Yeah. And it's funny. I always thought that the metaphor about playing one's race card never made any sense anyway. When white people say you're playing the race card, it's like you can't do that. playing a card implies that you know the power of the card and you can use it when you want to. I'm always black. The moment you see me, I'm black. I can't play my blackness when I want to and then withhold it from you otherwise, unless I'm talking to like a lone person on the phone.
Man, this is such
able to know I'm black.
This is such a good conversation
Oh,
for Jason to be sounding like he's in the bathroom, man. We hate to do it to you, but we do roast people whose microphones sound like, you know.
Hey, guess what? Guess what attacked Jason? Guess what attacked Jason today?
What's that?
My Wi-Fi.
Oh,
My Wi-Fi.
bro,
It ain't, bro. Listen.
Was that right?
That's
before
not what it is. You know what it is?
I got Wi-Fi.
You know what it is, Ben?
What's that?
It ain't that. You know what it is?
What's that?
He's used to being in that $1 million studio.
That's what it is.
He's like been behind that oak desk. He's used to be behind that oak desk.
Jason, low key, people think I want a job on MSNBC, man. They think the reason you and me even say hello to each other now because I want a job on MSNBC. Not that I care, not that you had to tell them, but you know we can exist and just be black, right?
I'm gonna say this, Ben, for your benefit and for everybody else. First off, y'all who think that Ben needs MSNBC money don't know what Ben Dixon does. Real talk.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
So
because
I want y'all all to receive that and understand what that means, right? Ben Dixon has his own thing, is his own content creator and everything else like that. But the other thing is this: I always think it's so ridiculous when folks think that the first attack of the ideologically bereft and the cowardly is to presume that one's ideology and motivation comes from a paycheck as opposed to lived experiences. That's where our beliefs come from. Lived experiences. Ain't no paycheck gonna pay you out of what you believe. Ain't no paycheck gonna pay you into something that you don't believe. Candace Owens believed what she believed before she was getting checks for it. Hate to break it to you. She was already there. You know, I mean, like, so when people are like, you're doing it for whatever money, they clearly know nothing about where true ideological beliefs come from. And I don't care if you're on the far right or the far left, that stuff is experiential long before it has any dollar signs behind it.
that's what's up. Jason, how much time you got?
It's also an.
I got about 15, 20 minutes.
Got 15, 20 minutes. Okay, we have some guests in the green room from the Poor People's Campaign. They're going to talk about the canvassing that was taking place here in Georgia. Now, there's a lot of organizations, and I got to make a confession. I was out in the front yard. It was cold, so I was just standing outside for no reason. And this van pulled up. We're not going to discuss what I was doing. This van pulled up, and a whole bunch of people jumped out, and I thought it was on. I thought they found me, man. They were canvassers from the NAACP. So I was like, all right, good to know. Let me give y'all some Godspeed and good wishes out here in that cold weather. But I want to bring up Neil Tiller and Melissa Garija. She's joining us as well. Well, we're going to have to. Okay, so apparently there's a limitation. Jason, let me take you down for a second, and I want to bring up our other guests.
Because we do still have to address some Jason stuff.
Yeah, so Jason, don't go far. Don't go far at all, because
I'll be right
we definitely
here
will do
in
that.
this room.
So I'm joined by Neil Tiller and Melissa. I'm having a hard time pulling Melissa on the screen. I'm going to get her on the screen momentarily. But Neil, thank you, first of all, for coming on behalf of the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend Barber, who has been doing a magnificent work across the country, and your organization in terms of canvassing, in terms of putting the emphasis on class issues as well as race issues, a healthy combination of the two. I want you to unmute yourself on your side and just tell us a little bit about that campaign before we move forward.
Neil, before you do, Jason, let me know that I want to let you know that you're still on the camera, brother.
Yeah, I know,
yep.
I know.
You know what? Thank you for that clarity. And then now I think I can get Melissa in here, and then Jason. I'm sorry, Neil. The floor is yours. And Neil, I'm sorry, you're still on mute. You're gonna have to unmute from your side. There we go. I can hear you now. I thought.
All right.
There it is. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining.
I'm well. So I'm here in the CSRA Augusta, and so we're kind of branching out across the state. We're kind of new to the state of Georgia, but Reverend Barber and Reverend Liz, they're doing great things nationally, and we've had a big push here because of this runoff election. Obviously, means a lot to what the next 2 years at least look like. Mm-hmm. And so we need to make sure that we're minding our P's and Q's and getting out there and voting tomorrow. If you haven't already voted, that's first and foremost. But also, it doesn't stop tomorrow is one of the main
Right.
things that as an organization that we exist for is that we're here to let people know that we're here to push policies beyond the voting booth.
I'm gonna pass it to Marcus and Mundell, and but before I do, I want to ask one question. Can you tie the importance of the election tomorrow to a progressive policy future? In other words, if we feel a lot of pressure on us to accomplish something progressive, why is the election tomorrow important?
The election tomorrow is important. So here in the state of Georgia, we've had 9 rural hospitals close over the past 10 years. In that 10 years, had we have taken and added the extended Medicaid benefits, Medicare benefits, we would have not had to close at least half of those
Right.
hospitals
Right.
because they would have had that money coming in. And so a great majority of our COVID cases that are passing away are coming from areas that don't have access to hospitals or healthcare cases. And so you have certain areas where you're a 30-minute drive just from seeing a regular physician for anything. And at a minimum for progressive, and to me, it's not that progressive to have minimal health care, but
Right.
with being in Georgia, the last 15 years of my life, I've found that not everybody feels that way.
That's it.
You know, so it's hard for me. I'm a born and raised Vermonter, so I was a born, I'm a Bernie Sanders guy through and through. So but when you look like me and you walk like me and you talk like me, you're expected to think and act a certain way. So when you don't, you get pushed out of a lot of conversations.
Damn, you
And
sound black,
so,
boy.
well, no, I'm not. I'm not saying. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not trying to. I'm not.
He must have went to one of Barbara's sermons or something.
That's what I'm talking about.
No,
I love
no.
No, it's all love. Listen. If we clowning you, that means we love you. So
Yeah,
just so you know,
but
right?
but it's just for me. It's really hard to find myself at a place where the fact that just to get a modicum of care, health care, is seen as not as progressive, not moderate, or a basic quality care of life.
And before I pass it on to one of the other gentlemen, just to give everyone another heads up, Melissa Garija is supposed to be joining us, and I'm having technical difficulties on my end. Apparently, the software that we're using only allows 5 guests.
You can take me down for a second.
We're gonna try
You
to
can take
get
me
her
down
in
for a
there
second.
in a second. But Mundell, go ahead with your question, and go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, so my question is, I appreciate the Poor People's Campaign for coming in here. I mean, you guys have a legacy that is bigger than a lot of people realize. Why don't you talk to people about the revival of the Poor People's Campaign and what its roots are and how you guys are tied to those roots?
Right. So, obviously, well, I guess it's not obviously, but the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is where the Poor People's Campaign started, where we were fighting for progressive values across all colors, where it's just not the colored people, but also poor people, because there was how do you say this? There was a time when it was they convinced poor people that if they acted a certain way and they were a certain way, that they were better than other people. And so where I think that this conversation started was to begin to see that we're all equals. And that we need to start building together, and that when our voices join together, we'll be more powerful.
That's it.
And as a more powerful together unit, we could start to make change. However, we've somehow never been able to bring all those voices together. We've always kind of stayed separate, and so Reverend Barber and Dr. Liz have kind of rekindled that flame of taking the unity of Dr. King's dream and bringing it back together of all colors working towards equal
Yeah.
values, equal beliefs,
Opportunities. Yeah.
equal
The
opportunities,
yeah.
equal systems,
Yeah.
and equal justice. Everything's equal across the table, and making it that way is only done when we're working towards that goal together.
That's it.
So
Melissa, thank
I
you
think
so
it's
much.
important. Yeah,
Let me
Ben.
jump in there real quick,
let's
Mandel,
go
because
ahead. Go ahead. Go
I want to
ahead. Give
introduce
Melissa.
our other guest while she's on the screen. And Melissa, listen, there's a well kept secret that's not well kept that I can't pronounce last names. Could you help us with the pronunciation of your last name?
Sure. It's Garaga.
Garriga, Melissa Garriga, thank you also from the Poor People's Campaign. Thank you for joining us and help connecting this. And we want you to join in on the conversation. Mundell, I apologize for interrupting you. I just want to interrupt to introduce our guest. You got the floor, brother.
Yeah, and after this question, I'll shut up and let Jason get in there. But I wanted to say, I think it's also important to ground about what reality is and what it was when King thought it was time to shift. This is what the Poor People Campaigns was about. It was
Yeah,
shifting from reform to revolution, right? It was
right,
in response to the riots. They called them riots. We know what it was in Detroit, right?
right,
So if you consider the fact that we're dealing with two pandemics as Black people, right? We have the health pandemic called COVID, and then we also have institutional racism that we're fighting. And we watched for more than 8 minutes a cop put his knee on the neck of
it.
Mr. Floyd, and create a similar reaction to Detroit. I think it's timely that you all are existing, not just in Georgia, but all over this country. So I just wanted to shout that out and make sure that we were grounded in that. And I'll just shut up.
No, that's an awesome link because there is, for me, that's one of the things that brought me towards this campaign was looking for something that tied my faith, me being a pastor, um,
Okay.
to social justice. I have a biracial family, and so my son, when I see him, he's been in trouble a couple of times, and so he's treated differently than I am, and so you have to take. And then when they see dad, it's a completely different thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's you hear Reverend Barber talk and you hear Reverend Liz talk, and you just, especially Reverend Barber, he just really speaks to the heart of of all of these issues. They are still melded together in a ball that
Right.
we have to break.
Right. Right. Jason, jump in there. And Melissa, we would love to hear from you in terms of all of the things that you're working on as well. So we just want to get everybody in. Jason, you got it.
Yeah, so this could be for either one of you. It's very interesting. In America, lots of people, because of the Puritan roots and the sort of capitalism beginning in this country, people associate poverty with a moral failing. That you're poor because you didn't work hard. You're poor because you're not a good person. So when you have an organization called the Poor People's Campaign, there's a lot of people out there who are like, I'm not poor. I'm not poor. They don't want to admit that their status has nothing to do with any personal failing on their behalf. It's a systematic problem. So how do you overcome that? How do you reach out to people and say, no, you are poor? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not because you don't work hard. It's not because you're lazy. It's because we have a system that guarantees a certain percentage of people are going to be poor. You just have to be caught in that group. How do you get that message across from people who would never want to be associated with being poor?
Um, I'll jump in. First, we just have to remove that stigma that poor equals bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think people have to be comfortable, and especially members of the Poor People Campaign, we have to be comfortable with saying out loud to other people, "I am poor."
Mm-hmm.
You um, and so it kind of starts there. But one thing about the Poor People's Campaign is that it's when you give voice and agency to someone or to a
Mm-hmm.
group of people, okay, you build power within them, and power is not associated with poor, right? And so building community power within our states and our communities, with building power with our poor and low wealth brothers and sisters, then poor doesn't become, it's not a stigma anymore, right?
That's
It's
it.
part of a movement.
Yeah.
And so that's when we can like really start to kind of tear down that wall.
I like
Um,
that.
but you know, Mondale, you said you talked about the two pandemics, and you said systematic racism was one of the pandemics, and that's I like that you said that, because also one thing I like to always say is that poverty is the pandemic,
That's it.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and basically anything that that has been a fissure of this of COVID itself is really the pandemic, and COVID's just a symptom,
That's
right?
it.
And
Absolutely.
so, because there's lots of things that uh, under the systems in place today that's going to kill poor and low wealth people,
Mm-hmm.
black and brown, before it kills people, right?
Right.
Um, so it's because of the systems that we have. There's a big spray paint and what do you call it, tag graffiti
Graffiti.
thing
Yes.
in New Orleans that says capitalism is the pandemic. And you know, there's so many ways that we could look at how it's not necessarily this virus, right? It's the systems that we live under. So
That's it.
I like that you brought that up.
Neil and Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. But Melissa, because of the technology issue, I couldn't get you in the conversation early off enough. And I would like for you to just get one more last word. And in getting the last word, could you also tell everyone how they can support the Poor People's Campaign?
Sure. Yeah. So I just want to real quick, if I can just,
Yeah, please.
I want to talk. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about why uh, it's important here, which we've, of course, Nick and I've been on the grounds here since day. Although I am from B, and so I get a lot of Georgia. Um, but here's why it's important. About 45 or 46% of Georgia's population is considered poor and low wealth. All right. 1.4 million people as of 2018 were uninsured. This was before the pandemic. 47% of Georgia's workforce makes under $15 an hour. Okay. Nearly half the state works less than a living wage. And so this is why we're here. It's so important to vote. We are nonpartisan. We're not going to sit here and tell you who to vote for, right? But we want you to learn about our moral agenda, and we want you to look for a candidate that you feel that you can push towards that moral agenda. Somebody said one time, they asked why they voted for somebody, and they said something to the effect like, I like to pick the person I'm going to fight with, right? And so, yeah, it's just, you know, that's why we're here in Georgia.
That's good.
You know, when half of the state is poor and low wealth and suffering from all the daily challenges of being poor and low wealth, that's not right, you know. And
Right.
so if you're interested in helping Georgia, they have you can go on social media to Georgia Poor People's Campaign. You can I'm not sure about the Twitter page if it's set up yet, but you can email them and ask more questions at Georgia at poorpeoplescampaign.org. And you can also go to our website. That's www.poorpeoplescampaign.org. And you can look where there are chapters in your state, and you can also just send in a questionnaire about joining, and we would be happy to have as many people. And I just want to say real quick, if you're out there and you're listening, you are poor too, probably.
Come on.
Don't be, yeah, don't be afraid to say that, right?
That's it.
Like, own it.
That's it.
Own it, and then let's get out there and do something about it, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melissa Garriga and Neil Tiller. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, please let Reverend William Barber know that we love him. We're praying with him, and that when he shared my article years ago, I knew, I was like, maybe I actually know something. If Reverend Barber can share one of my articles, we support him, and we'll love to have him on the show anytime.
We will work that out. We'll get it on the show.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you again for all the work that you all are doing here in Georgia. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to bring back, obviously, Marcus Farrell to join us as usual with the unusual guest. I'm just messing with you, man. We're going to bring Marcus back on the screen. What y'all think? I've been a fan and a big supporter of the Poor People's Campaign. When she said that you got to be able to admit that you've been poor, I would tell y'all the honest truth. One of the first liberating points that I ever had doing this work was when I still lived in Boston, and I was legit poor, because I don't care if you making under six figures in Boston and you got children, yeah, you're poor. You got like no money left over at the end of the night. So it was liberating for me to be able to admit that, even though I had a good job on paper, man, like we had negative dollars left over at the end of every month. And you so embarrassed to say that, because you're not supposed to say that kind of thing, especially when you Black and you're supposed to be stunting on them. Just my experience.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Marcus, come on. I ain't heard nothing from you because you was off the air. I saw you in the chat. Bring it on the air, bro.
Bring it on home.
Man, I was troll hunting, man. No, what I noticed about both of those, and it's the same thing I saw with you right before the general election, Mondale, is that warrior, like 1,000-yard stare right before the night of the election. And I get it too when I'm like actively working like day to day on a campaign, right? And that's what I saw in those two, was like this, like the warrior, like, man, we've been out here and the thing about it is, when you run a canvassing program, like the war stories that you come up with and the things that you go through emotionally as a person who has to deal with people who are dealing with humans in real life, you get this 1,000-yard stare, because it's so much that has happened, and it brought you to the point where you are the night before an election, and everything that you've been, your person, your family that you've discarded for months, your girlfriend, like your diet, right? Your diet is the first thing to go. Like all of that accumulates into one moment where a decision is made, right? And I saw that 1,000-yard stare in both of their eyes.
In the zone.
They're in that zone, you know what I mean? Yeah. And shout out to those two. I wanted to address something since I've been off the air. First off, let me tell y'all something. We're going back to Jason and Ben real quick. And check this out. I'm gonna tell America this. I don't care what y'all say, right? Like, Jason Johnson is my dog. He's my homie. We don't agree about things all the time. Like literally all the time. Me and Jason do not agree about anything at all, pretty much, except a couple things. But what we do agree about is being Black men.
That's it.
So
let me.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna bring. I need to finish this one out. Everybody's like forced to vote. But as soon as I say reparations, forced reparations, right? Nobody wants to talk about that, right? Like, to me, Blackness is progressive. To me, living in your true Black self is progressive, right? And then being able to have discussions about why you feel the way that you feel. A lot of people have a problem with Jason because it was a perception that Jason had a problem with Bernie Sanders. A lot of people had a problem with Jason just for a lot of other things. Here's my thing, and this is a testament to my friend, right? When Bernie Sanders' world wasn't talking to me anymore, guess who was?
Come on, bro. Come on. Let's go there. Let's go.
Since we want to go there, when all the white progressives weren't rocking with me at all, because I was just talking about when they all turned on me, guess who was talking to me on a daily basis saying, "Keep your head up, bro. Don't worry, I got you. Don't worry, keep your head up, bro." So do me a favor, y'all miss me. Everybody.
Let me enhance it a little bit.
And Ben, after you finish your enhancement, I want to outline some stuff too. But go ahead.
Kiss our collective black asses. That's what I'm gonna say. Cause let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you what y'all do, what y'all ain't gonna do with me. I did an interview with Bakari Sellers many years ago. Shout out to Bakari for coming on my little podcast when I had 2 followers. I had like 10 people in that thing, but he showed up. And you know what I realized this was back in 2016. Before I went live with that brother, I had an epiphany. I said, I'm not arguing with another black person over now an old white person in this country. Right. I'm just not doing it. And I didn't have it fully solidified like then. It was just an idea, just popped in my head right before the show. But it solidified when I realized this is what y'all do. Has Jason Johnson ever been transphobic, as far as I know? Has Jason Johnson ever called black people monkeys, as far as I know? And in so much as you all defended Bernie Sanders' right to affiliate and associate with Joe Rogan, but you want to cancel me for associating with another progressive black man. That's why I say kiss our collective black asses. Mundell, you got the floor.
Here's what's beautiful. Y'all think that we measure ourselves by what y'all white friends are doing on the internet.
Right.
That's your problem.
Right.
That's your
right
base.
There.
We don't care. White people can't skewer us because we hang or talk to other black men. We are a dying breed because of y'all and y'all whiteness and this behavior.
Right.
Here's proof. The squad collectively represent about 3 million people. Most of those people are black and brown people. And y'all want them to burn all their power to get legislation to benefit those residents of their districts on some white person's idea that has no strategy and no possibility of passing. And y'all are upset that we're sitting up here being super black right now. The problem is, the problem is Jason ain't your problem. Your problem is black people that don't bend to what you want them to bend
That's
to.
it.
That's your problem.
And
that's your problem. It has nothing to do with Jason. It's black men that don't care what you think about them and they continue to live in grace. So shame on y'all for coming up here thinking you're going to scare us to cut somebody off. This ain't CNN. We don't cut black men off with radical or different ideas.
Pause. Let me add one more thing.
Hold on. Add something to this, even with my
Jason, let me just say this.
Okay.
Jason, let me just add this last thing to it. Also, y'all gonna clip this show.
Please do.
Clip it.
Please.
Because as soon as you bring that clip, right? You know me and Mondale, we will go through all 2,000 of the retweets and answer every single one of them. And answer every one of them.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, like, and we might not have time for it because tomorrow's election day, so some of y'all shit might slide for a second. But just follow what I'm saying to you. Clip it, right? And all I'm gonna respond is black men with different opinions. If you don't like it, stop watching the show. Because I'm still progressive.
Point blank.
I'm still progressive, and you can't take my car from me. Try me.
I want to add this because I think it's we are fortunately all in a new year. We have a whole different slew of battles that we're going to have to fight collectively and individually, politically and going forward. I think, one, I appreciate all the kind words that you guys have said, but I also think it's important I think this is a general statement about media that I don't think people understand. And you guys are getting this. Ben has probably gotten it for a long time. I've gotten it for a long time. We're actually human beings. We're not characters in some news play that you see. So,
Thanks.
like when you attack regular human beings, they respond. And also, human beings have the capacity to grow and learn. So just because it's entertaining for some people in the viewing audience to see a bunch of black guys attack each other, we try to step back from that. Yeah. And we're going to take it offline and we're going to have conversations with each other because we want to make sure that we present as united a front we can to address the issues that we all collectively care about. And maybe that's not as clickbaity as some people want. Maybe they want to see folks stabbing each other in the back and yelling and screaming and performing online. But that's not what any of the men here, and that's not what people who really want to see progress in this country are about. You have no idea the kinds of things that happen behind the scenes in progressive organizations and in media organizations that we squash, that we smash on our own privately because we have a larger agenda that we want to address. And and I appreciate not just what everybody's been saying here, but for anybody in the audience who thinks that they want to see that, that they need to see a stick fight, I'm sorry, that's not what people who are really about the movement are about.
Cause listen, man. Cause here's the thing. Like we also got a code, and I don't know what y'all want to call it, but it's just a code. Like I did come to your house and I tried you in your own house, and I got some clicks off of that, and you had some words, but we got on the phone, right? And we
it was the most amazing conversation, Trap Squad. It was the most amazing conversation.
Because here was my theory.
I wish everybody
Can I
was
just
here
give
for
you
that
my theory?
conversation.
My theory was Jason Johnson wasn't gonna say to my face on the phone what I heard he said in the streets. And I said to Marcus, Marcus, if this man say on the phone to me what I heard him say in the streets, then that's gonna be my nigga. Cause I just rock with people. I rock with people who gonna say to me what you said, and he didn't hesitate.
No, it was the first thing. It was the first thing out of his mouth.
It was. And I responded in kind. And you know what, man? We like on that particular issue, we agreed to disagree, right?
Yeah.
But then also on the bigger, broader issue, you're still a black man. You're still a black man who's progressive. Like when you talk your shit, like you're human, bro. You're human. And there's a game that's played on the left. I'll say this and I'll be done. Let me tell you why I'm leaving the left alone. Because y'all don't do. I come from the black church. So if I'm just going to be authentic to myself, then y'all got a problem in these progressive spaces because y'all don't forgive nobody for nothing except for people you need on your side. If you need them on your side, you forgive them for everything. If you want to execute them, you don't forgive them for nothing. And that's just not the kind of game I play as an adult. So
it's also worth saying, their level of progressive, the far left for them is DSA. And they can't even see the racism in that organization, right? But that, to me, I know tons of black organizations that are to the left of that organization. So the idea that progressivism is marked by white organizations, like the brother just said, Vermont and Bernie, or even DSA or Justice Democrats, is also problematic because all of those organizations are centered around about white issues and white policies. We just got to be 100. If you don't believe me, just look at what the Justice Democrats were doing in Jamal Bowman's race when I got there. They had not talked to one black man in that district. It was 59,000. They was like, well, they don't turn out to vote. So I'm just telling you all. So your definition of progressivism. Go ahead, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna hold my hand and wait for you.
Yeah. So your definition of progressive is still absent of blackness, and that's problematic. Because guess what? Jason wake up in the morning black. Ben wake up in the morning black.
Man,
Marcus go to sleep at night black. So y'all have no clue or what it means to be progressive, but for your relationships or your thoughts about blackness.
Go ahead, Marcus. I forgot my point. Go ahead, Marcus.
Listen, I mean, so I'm a drop some stuff for y'all. When I created the Bernie Sanders HBCU tour, the first person I ran it by was Jason. When I said that we needed to talk to black people more, the first person that I contacted, like, y'all, the thing about it is, if you add blackness to being a progressive, then you have no problem calling Jason the progressive. Because when I talk to him, I talk about black shit. And there's a lot of things that he's a lot more blacker than me about. I mean, and y'all know me. I'm kind of problematically black, but 15% Irish.
That Irish side get beside you.
Yeah,
No,
the Irish side actually just provides anger. That's why I'll be yelling into the microphone all the time. So let me clarify things, because what's going to happen is, I already know this. There's going to be some relationship torn. There's some Trap Squad members who hate your Jason, and that's their opinion, and they're validated to it. The only thing that I want to make sure that this conversation brought out of this right here was,
we don't care.
Yeah, well, one is not that big of a deal to us, because when I had my discussions to Jason Johnson about my first cousin getting shot and killed by the police, his reaction was the same one as mine. And it wasn't, let's move on to the next story. It was, bro, I am so sorry. And every single time that you bring it up, it hurts me and it makes me pause. Yeah. Black stuff that happens to him, he'll call me about it. Like, man, miss me unless y'all understand the black experience, man. That's it.
Miss us. Let me tell you. Let me say one last thing. Here's why I ain't flexing on MSNBC, because I normally say MSNBC can't afford me. But what I really mean is MSNBC can't afford to leave me on air for longer than 6 minutes. Because outside of that, I'm going to tell the goddamn truth. And one thing that you got on the screen right here is that you got people who going to stop us from telling the truth. Who going to stop us? We free black men. Now, we going to get some free black women up on here on this channel. We're going to get some free non-gender conforming black folks up on this channel. But right now, we got to start. We got free black men. What y'all going to do with us? You can't hold us down from your politics. You certainly can't hold me down from your religion. We done thought those things through already. You can't hold us down with your capitalism because we about to show y'all what to do with this money. We're going to show y'all how to handle capitalism. So what y'all going to do when you get a bunch of free black men? We got out here and we're going to speak our truth. Jason, I know you got to go, man. So we running our mouths, bro. Get in there, man.
I got a show in the morning. But hey, love every single one of you guys. Appreciate this immensely. And I'm telling you, and I will say this again to both you all in the audience, what I've always thought was important, and I say this as a whole, I don't care if you're a part of NPR, PBS, CNN, MSNBC, or Fox. I think it's important that we recognize that the greater diversity that we have in black opinions being expressed, it helps everybody. It really ultimately helps everybody. The black community has probably gotten more mileage out of discussions of Candace Owens and Diamond and Silk than we had all throughout the Obama era, because we had black people to say, no, this is actually not. Right? Like you have to have that other, you have to have that contrast. If we don't have those contrasts, if we don't have different kinds of people we can talk about, then we end up in a silo, then we end up in a monolith, which is why, I can be cool with everybody from Michael Steele to Roland Martin to Ben to Marcus to Mondale to everybody, far right and far left. Because as long, as Marcus has said, as long as we agree on one thing, that the liberation of black people is our ultimate goal, we can work it out.
You ain't going to help but be progressive. You can't. By definition.
That's a progressive idea. Liberating black people is the most progressive idea. Like,
because you get black folks free, black folks get free, everybody get free. Because guess what we do? As soon as I got free, guess who I freed next? I freed my family. Now we working on freeing our extended family. And who you think we're going to free after that? Everybody who going to be down with us. See, that's what happened when you free black folks. When y'all free some of these white folks, they just put it in the stock market and buy another boat. I'm just saying. Jason Johnson, bro, thanks so much for joining us, man. Appreciate you.
Take me down also for a second, Ben.
Okay, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna bring it back. And then actually, Mundell, which is cool because I've got clips. It's the vote for me. I got all the clips.
You gonna play all of them?
I'm gonna play. We're gonna separate them tomorrow morning.
I love it.
The director of these clips is coming to join us for the Thirsttrap in the morning.
Awesome.
Rafael Gutierrez, my brother from another mother.
Shout out to Rafael.
He is super talented. Genius. So let's take a look at this. And I want to preface it by saying this. This was sponsored by Really American, which is a political action committee. I serve as the senior advisor to them. So it's not paid for or endorsed by any candidate. But it is a testament to what happens when it may not be a black institution, but they sent money to black organizers, in this case, black talent in the state of Georgia, and this is what they came up for. This is what they came up with. This isn't what Really American did. This is what folks from the ATL did. Let's take a look at the first one.
Campaign girl, don't shake that ballad at me. That ballad at me. That ballad at me. Shake that ballad at me, girl. Shake that ballad at me. That ballad at me. Campaign girl, I'm looking for Mrs. Campaign girl. So you are not for me, 'cause you were absentee.
Now, it's actually 5 videos in one. We had them cut them up shorter because, people attention span is a little short. But that's just one of the 5. Mark Mundell, you were there at the recording. What did you experience at the recording?
I mean, it was wonderful, like, to be working with like that level of talent that know who they are and that don't feel the need to be bothered by suggestions from a political mind in this space, right? So the vote for me part of it, all of that was there, and they were open to it. So when we like, for instance, when they were filming the videos, I was like, yo, you got to put some black men in the voting line, and dude was like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like that level of artistic genius that gives space for ideas that make sense, because what happens when I was trying to explain to them is what happens is if you leave black men out of the voting line, it kind of plays into the narrative that black men don't vote. It became automatic as soon as I said it. Nobody took offense to it. Even the actors like, yo, let's jump in this, let's get it, man. It was beautiful to see this created. I loved it.
Here's the next one. Is you voting?
for the polls. Got the stickers on deck and the hand sanitizer.
Is you voting? Is you voting? Is you voting? Is you voting?
Hey, I just did. Hey, I just did. Hey, I just did. Hey, I just did.
Oh, he peached up. Oh, he peached up. Oh, he peached up. Oh, he peached up.
Yeah, I might be. Yeah, I might be. Yeah, I might be. Yeah, I might be.
All right, is you voting? I love it. I would keep playing the next one. Oh, Marcus is back. So this is the video. This is the video shoot that I was at last week. Now, you know it take a lot for me to leave my house, y'all. It take a lot for me to leave my house, but I couldn't have all those brothers and sisters down in the A doing that, and I don't at least show up. Y'all want to jump in there, or y'all want to move to the next one? All right, we'll move to the next one. This one was funny.